So around the production of the third movie, Fox also decided to continue on making spin-offs to try and continue the stories of these characters. At first they decided to go through this project of the X-Men Origins, based after the name of Origins, which was Wolverine at first, but then later some other characters. It was going to be about the origins of the X-Men characters. It was planned to be Wolverine, of course, which is the reason we have the movie we have now, but they were supposed to originally have Magneto, and that was supposed to be its whole other thing. It was going to expand more on the, Holocaust part of the first movie that we kind of just forgot by the end of it. So, yeah, that turned into its whole own thing, but at this point they were going to make a whole group of them. That's the reason this is named that way. Now, without the fact that there are other X-Men Origins, we just have X-Men Origins Wolverine being the weirdest title of the whole franchise. Implies that it's going to be the beginning of the X-Men, but it's not really. It's about Wolverine. You can't even call it just Wolverine now because there's a movie called The Wolverine, so great. Despite this movie's awful name, it had a good idea at first. You had a writer that does know about comics and was going to be doing something with it. You have one half of D&D, not D.B. Weiss, the other one, the one who probably is the reason for the problems of the overall... I mean, both of them are together the reason why the later seasons of Game of Thrones sucked ass, but I feel it was more than likely the writer of this movie's fault. He decided to put a little bit too much things all together at once. The Origins Wolverine comic is meant to really be one after another rather than all together. It's more different parts of a story, and shoving them together, it was clear that he didn't quite know what he wanted in the film and how he wanted it to go. Benioff finished his script, but he went to do other things. During the production of another movie, Hugh Jackman was in Australia. They had enough time to be like, maybe we should probably tweak it a little bit. So they got the guy who would later write The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. Thanks, guys. Thanks. But also, weirdly, the guy who wrote The Joker later on? And that's strange, how you get two people there. I'd like to think the good parts that do exist in this film were kept in there, and it was close enough to what the original idea was supposed to be, which was supposed to be darker and more character-driven, which God knows if they kept the original Benioff script, if it would have been better or worse, but they definitely made it into this, which is bad. They then brought in Gavin Hood to be the director of it. Hugh Jackman was actually the reason they had brought him in, due to him seeing the previous movie Hood had worked on kind of relating to the character of Wolverine, sort of. And you might think, oh, I guess they brought in the wrong guy because Hugh Jackman wasn't seeing the right thing. But no, he wanted to go with the more character-driven, darker idea. But Fox was definitely the reason, not only bring in those second writers in, but also very much to change it to be more like the other X-Men movies. That apparently a more character-driven, deeper plot line in terms of how Wolverine is feeling wouldn't do as well. Bullshit! If it wasn't very clear by this point, Fox did not know anything about the X-Men, and they did not know what made the X-Men good at all. And they're definitely having way too much of a hand into changing it into something else. That something else being a thing that people, lots and lots of people, fucking hate for good reasons. Ultimately, this movie is about Wolverine, of course, being James Howlett, or just Jimmy, later calling himself Logan. Young him finds out through accidentally killing his best friend Victor Creed's father that Victor Creed is actually his brother, and the two of them run away. In an actually really cool opening credits, we see them live through all of the wars since 1832, I think it is, which includes the Civil War, World War I, World War II. It's fucking nuts. And again, the opening scene is actually really awesome, regardless of the rest of the film. But they meet up with Stryker, very different actor than he will be and was previous, none of which look at all like each other, but okay. He brings the two of them into a new team, which of course includes Wade Wilson, who should be Deadpool, but isn't in this film at all. We'll get to that. And also characters who should be a lot cooler than they are, but just aren't. One of which is Maverick, who's supposed to look like that. Understandable why they don't make him look like that. I just like that character because it looks like that. He's not that great of a character in the comics, so whatever. But they have the guy who's going to later be the Blob, which, yes, the Blob's power aren't tied to the fact that he's fat, and he just is fat separately, but whatever. They bring in John Wraith, which, okay, sure. And a guy who is vaguely in the comics, but not like how he is here. They all make this team, Team X, which they just kind of infiltrate some stuff. They don't show what these guys really do, and that's the first problem in this film. They don't give any insight into who these characters are and the relationships, and they come into later parts of the film, so we don't really have a reason to give a shit when all of these characters, spoilers, die, so why should I care? The fact that they just give no time to these characters, but they give like a conversation to them, sure, that's not enough to really care about any of these characters. They really should have spent a little bit more time with these characters if they wanted to really sell me on these characters. But honestly, if I was to make this film, I would cut them out entirely. They shouldn't even be part of this fucking film. In fact, it should cut immediately to after, when Wolverine gets pissed off that Stryker is just gonna kill some random villagers because he wants some more adamantium. He wakes up at his new job 6 years later after he leaves Team X, and now he's with Silver Fox, his new girlfriend, who should be Native American, but okay, whatever. And we get a little bit of look in the relationship. Honestly, I would have preferred him waking up immediately during his big, like, dream fit that he does in this film. Because, like, going from the opening shots to him waking up, it would have been cool to spend, like, 30 whole minutes in the movie seeing their relationship and seeing his life. I would have been way more interested in that. I do kind of like the relationship in this movie, but it's not done well enough for me to give a shit, you know? They're barely developed enough for me to really care when suddenly, when Sabretooth comes back, he kills her, and now Wolverine's all pissed off. Now going with Stryker, who returns to him, seeing that seemingly Sabretooth is hunting the other guys down, and he decides to give him, of course, the big metal shit that he injects him with, turning him into the Wolverine that we know. It should be mentioned that he does have the bone claws beforehand. He doesn't give him the claws with the surgery, but now his whole skeleton is encased in metal, including those claws. Keep in mind, he only gets the metal because he got his ass kicked by Sabretooth after Sabretooth killed Silver Fox, and Wolverine was seemingly putting up a good fight, but he gets his ass kicked very quickly, and then gets like hit by some bad CGI logs. I really want CGI to be good, I really do, but this movie is the reason people really complain about CGI and its overuse. It's just, everything is CGI in this, and it's just so clearly noticeable, and it's awful. And the worst part is the logs. I've worked at Home Depot. I know how like a bunch of logs would fall down onto the floor, and that's not how they wouldn't just go plunk, you know? That's not what they would look like. Wolverine escapes after they just decide that they're gonna kill him, because he escapes to his old folks' home, and I fucking hate these characters. And, they're not awful characters or anything. They're this cute little old couple. But they're supposed to be the Guardian and the Vindicator. Two really cool heroes. They're named after that. Their whole role is very similar to what Wolverine does immediately after escaping Weapon X. That makes sense. Why have them as old people, though? Why have them in the movie at all? Honestly, what I would have done is to have more time with these characters in the first place and have them be young people. I would have absolutely kept what happens later, which is that Agent Zero comes in to fight Wolverine and Wolverine kick his ass, but I wouldn't have had it look fake as all shit with the stupid action scene that comes afterwards. And I certainly wouldn't have killed off these characters because they would have had a lot more potential of, being in a fucking Alpha Flight movie. That would have been awesome. Whatever. I would have had James Hudson, the Guardian, follow Wolverine from then forward after they get some information from Agent Zero. I don't know if they would have killed him or not in my hypothetical version, but whatever. Would have more quickly went to Gambit. But we'll get to Gambit, because instead Wolverine then goes off to John Wraith, who's hanging out with the Blob, who's now the Blob, and we get this stupid, unfunny scene where he accidentally calls the Blob fat and then has to fight him, which looks dumb as all hell. Similarly, the Blob knows that Sabretooth is working with Stryker, which, wow, what a surprise. Regardless of the fact that we knew that Stryker was a bad guy from the second film, he's incredibly suspicious and evil acting, so no shit he's evil and working with Sabretooth. But then he's seemingly rounding up mutants to create a super mutant, one, which of course happens to be Deadpool. We'll get to that, but it's stupid that he kills, you know, the light bulb guy in the beginning of the film, when he could have just did what we later see, which is put kids in cages and take their shit from there. It's like, why kill that guy? That was dumb. Also then kills John Wraith as Wolverine's talking to Gambit. Some random bar, Wraith happens to be on the lookout and he gets killed immediately. Because for some reason when he has teleporting powers, and when he does so, a part of his skeleton kind of stays behind for like a slight second. So Sabretooth just grabs his spine. Sure. Okay, and then kills him quickly. Like why not just kidnap him? There's no reason given. No reason given. Of course, Gambit, who also no reason decides to fight Wolverine, even though Wolverine tells him that he's going to kill the guy that kidnapped him. Gambit goes, but he was also wearing dog tags like you, and it's like, Sabretooth is literally not wearing dog tags throughout this whole movie. What are you talking about? So sure, whatever. I would have honestly had James Hudson die in here. He dies in the comics, but comes back a little bit thanks to aliens and shit. Yeah, Alpha Flight's weird. So I would have been fine with killing off his character, and it would have been better than Will.i.am just getting killed in this scene after not being through most of the film. And it would have been, because having a character we actually grew to like throughout the film, because he had actually a relationship with the main character, it would have been more hitting, because you would have been like, fuck, shit, no, I don't want this character to die. But alright, just Will.i.am gets his spine ripped out like it's fucking Mortal Kombat. Wolverine and Gambit take a plane, and even though you think Gambit's going to be with him, which I would have him with him, honestly, I probably wouldn't kill Agent Zero so that he would help them later on, but I would kind of have them do what they do in, you know, just X-Men 2, basically, and try to just bring out the kids, which are going to be in Stryker's thing there, and of course go to try and get revenge for Sabretooth killing Silver Fox. I would have not brought Silver Fox back because they reveal that they faked her death in the most stupid way possible. I'm pretty sure Wolverine would have still been able to smell the fact that she was alive. I don't care what Sabretooth covered with her and slowed down her heart rate. Wolverine would have fucking known. They show that he has the, like, smell power, the, like, very keen senses that he has in the comics, and he would have known. He would have known. That's bullshit. Fuck you. This is vaguely supposed to be like in the comics how she dies, but then didn't really, but then also kind of did, and it's all thanks to, like, faked memories, which is kind of her power in the movie. I don't know why they don't just use her memory powers in terms of that being why Wolverine supposedly saw her die, but she didn't die. But honestly, they shouldn't have had her come back at all. She has no real point in the movie. If they could have had her whole point at this end of the movie just have been used by her sister. So Silver Fox doesn't have a sister in the comics. They just introduce her in this movie, and she's supposed to be Emma Frost, but the literal next movie goes to show you that she isn't. So, yeah. But regardless, they could have just had her be a character. They could have had her mention it during the actual developing of that relationship. And then could have mentioned her throughout the movie. Maybe Gambit would have been like, what? They could have had the part that's in the middle of Wolverine hunting people down, which is Sabretooth finding Cyclops for some reason. Which, by the way, Cyclops has laser vision, which is not what it is. It's a concussive blast. It's basically like a punch beam, you know? It just, like, pushes you back. It's not a fucking laser. This is one of the reasons people think he's just, like, shoots lasers out of his eyes, like he's Superman or some shit, but he's not. That's not what his powers do, and that's what they have in this movie for some fucking reason. Are they gonna possibly cut through stuff? Like, could he unlock stuff? Yes, because they would naturally, like, boof, you know? That's like, they'd fast enough, like, well enough hit from, like, something very strong, like Wolverine's big metal fists would have also, like, broken a lock. So, yeah, Cyclops could do that without having laser vision. Being laser vision doesn't necessarily make it less cool. That makes it more cool because it makes it more comic book-like. Something laser vision's too easy, if that makes sense, you know? But regardless, Cyclops vaguely helps the kids get out of there as Wolverine fights Sabretooth, and he's kind of pulled off because, you know, so Silver Fox is like, you're not an animal, whatever. So the end then goes to find out the big project that Stryker's been making, which of course is Deadpool. That's what he says, that's Deadpool. Which, no it fucking isn't. Fuck you. And he just missed the fucking point. Like, take away the fact that these characters don't look like these characters throughout the whole fucking film. You know, X-Men's been having a thing of trying to be more modern and more realistic, having Matrix-like fucking costumes and all that. But to do it to the point where you're just like, well, we need those weird diamond eye things, and so we'll have him do it when he's shooting lasers out of his fucking eye. I had a friend who didn't know that this wasn't Deadpool. This is the kind of shit that does. These movies are meant to be adaptations of the comics. They're supposed to represent the comics. It's especially important for comics because comics are still very much a thing going on. So when you have this kind of representation of a character being so fucking wrong, this results in that character being forgotten because he doesn't look like the way he does in this movie that people aren't going to like because he's stupid. He's a random boss character at the end. I don't know if in my theoretical version I would have kept this thing. It certainly shit wouldn't have been Deadpool if I did. Because honestly, probably would have had Wade Wilson just helping him out throughout the whole fucking film. Because Ryan Reynolds is a good Deadpool in the beginning of the movie. To have him show up, have his mouth be covered, goes against the character so much. It baffles the mind why this was a thing. Why they decided that this was going to be what they did. Why? Why did they do that? And this goes past them lessening or changing things to make it more modern and more edgy, you know? It's just like, what the fuck was the point of this? What was the point of this? Why did they make this a thing? Why? That's not Deadpool. This is Deadpool. Fuck you. That's shitty. So fucking shitty. The whole fucking big final fight is shitty. It's stupid. Fuck it. Not even talk about it. Kill Deadpool and they... Sabretooth fucks off to God knows where, thanks to Gambit showing up at the last minute before fucking off again. The kids are found by Xavier, who's weird CGI looking and standing, despite the fact that he'll seemingly be in a wheelchair in the next movie. We'll get to that. And Shredder catches up with Wolverine, shooting Silver Fox, and then Wolverine. With enough adamantium bullets that he unfortunately loses his memory, and Will Gambit shows up to help him get out of there, being that some feds are coming or something. He's not fast enough to possibly save Silver Fox, who finally does actually die. Probably, I don't know, false memories and all that bullshit. Again, I would have had a much more simpler, character-driven storyline that would have been more about who these characters are. Having some cool action moments, sure, but certainly is not filled with the garbage CGI in this. Maybe similar writing and similar pacing, but a lot less segmented parts, a lot more focus on who these characters are, and much more longer parts to the segments, you know? Because this movie just feels like it goes from, here's Wolverine in this part, then Wolverine's in this part, and then Wolverine's in this part fighting this guy. It doesn't give us enough time with any of these characters to care about who they are, so I just feel like this isn't John Wraith, the cool teleporty guy who sometimes shows up to help Wolverine when he's going through his past. This is Will.i.am in a stupid hat. This isn't the Blob, this is a fat guy who doesn't like being fat for some reason. The Blob's actually a favorite of mine, so the fact that he shows up in this and he's so disrespected in this fucking unfunny garbage scene pisses me off. And again, fuck you for doing that Deadpool thing. What the shit? What the fuck? And also double fuck you for making two cool characters that could have easily been a star of their own fucking movie, random old people and dying. Thanks. This has so many characters that they take from the comics that are really cool in the comics and are important to Wolverine, could have been their whole own adventures on themselves, and they go, here they are, they're dead, they're fucked off from the movie, they've done their funny scene that we can show off in the trailer. Fuck you. Not only are none of these characters interesting in any capacity, making this, and they are just there to be action scenes, making this movie feel segmented as all fuck. Making its pacings go from pretty good to just what's happening, I don't care. But add on the fact that it's even less enjoyable to watch thanks to the garbage CGI. It's like, it's fine that things are CGI in the previous movies. That's fine, whatever. Even the not best looking parts looked way better than this though. It's just, he's god awful looking claws in this just are very clearly him going, whoa, and then they fucking added the claws in later on. They look too shiny, if that makes sense. he slushes up shit way too easily, and there's the worst case is when he's fighting Gambit, and Gambit's climbed up on a thing, and Gambit doesn't like jump off of the thing when Wolverine starts slicing at it. He's just like, whoa, and then Wolverine goes slash, 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 and cuts the thing so easily like he's cutting fucking ham. Like, what? What? You did no. That looks so stupid. I'm sure he would be strong enough to do that kind of thing, but it would look stupid as all shit, and it does. God, this movie's stupid. This movie just looks bad, it sounds bad, it feels bad. Like, this movie isn't even for people who like the movies. Because it just shits all over Wolverine's character. It makes him look like an idiot and a big fucking... This movie about Wolverine doesn't even go into who Wolverine is as a character. He's just there. We're just supposed to like him because he's from the previous movies. And no, I get nothing from this character. I go into these movies with some ideas to the previous things to maybe add or sometimes subtract from the overall experience. But ignoring the fact that he's Wolverine from the past 3 movies, who is this fucking guy? He's a random angry idiot. Who the fuck is he? I can ignore the fact that they suddenly made Sabretooth fucking Wolverine's brother, but the fact that there's no history between them mentioned in 1 just is the whole reason why they shouldn't have had Wolverine be Sabretooth's brother for some fucking reason. Why? Like, I don't care that it's not accurate to the comics. You can change that kind of thing. That adds to a good idea, but connecting it to the previous movie fucks it up entirely. That doesn't bother me too much thanks to the X2 comic that I mentioned in my X2 review, actively kind of mentioning that he doesn't remember who he is either, so whatever. But like, holy shit, why have that? And that goes to show you that they definitely didn't remember anything, because the visuals of when he escaped and when he was being experimented on not only aren't close, there's something else entirely. He runs out of the door, in a similar way to he'll later do in the Apocalypse movie. Why did that movie get that correct when that's not even part of the same timeline? When this has him suddenly slash through a fucking door, which by the way also looks awful. And the way he did it should also not only have the like bottom part of the X thing that he makes get kicked out, but also the part should also fall on him, and that would have knocked him out, and that would have been the end of the movie. Whatever, fuck it. God, there was nothing good about this fucking movie. I do like the relationship between him and Silver Fox. I like that they try to have these characters be an ever so slightly bit how they were in the comics. Again, the old couple are the people that do find him after he escapes. The way it looks in this looks more like how it does in the comics. I mean, sure. But this movie was just made by people who did not give a shit. It was clear that they brought in the wrong person to write it, and whatever he did well was fucked over by the next guy, and whatever good pacing was only kept by the only competent writer they had, and the director could have saved it. But Fox fucked it up ever more so. This was just a trail that slowly trickled down the shit that this movie became. This is so... It's not an unwatchable film, because at least it has good cinematography. I like a lot of the shots that are in this film. I like when they're showing Wolverine like running around and shit. I like the whole beginning part with Team X is actually really fucking cool. Being wrong, the parts with Cyclops doing his crazy laser shit do look kind of cool. So I like the way this movie looks. You know, it's a watchable film, but it is lessened by the fact that, again, CGI is garbage, which unfortunately is a big problem that the director cannot stop. And Fox fucked up the ability to try and add any character into these scenes, so it just feels like a bunch of random action things that look okay when you're not dealing with the CGI, but when a bunch of the movie is the CGI, this movie becomes half watchable and awful. Now, is it Highlander the Source awful? No, but it gets pretty damn fucking close due to how many mistakes that it makes that it had to just do on purpose. Because how in the fuck do you do this to any of these characters? Not only just when connected to the previous movies, but what you're trying to represent from the comics. How do you do that shit? Like, again, they have the whole weird memory thing of the 90s did with the Silver Fox character, part of her character in this movie, but, well, that's a funny reference to those who know more about X-Men. Why have her in the fucking film suddenly returning? I'd rather have that be a plot point in a future movie, honestly, but now it can't be, because you fucked it up here. And again, it's cool they have the characters of the old people finding him after X, but why are they fucking old people, and why do they get shot in 5 seconds? It's like you want to like these characters, especially if you're a comic book fan, but they're just missing the whole entire point of what makes any of these characters the way they are. And I'm fine with changing stuff for your movie to make it the way you want, with sure to change with the times, whatever. A whole different debate that thankfully we've figured out that you can have cool comic book stuff in modern times without it being too goofy or whatever. Yellow spandex and all of that. But how do you miss the point of a character so badly that you fuck up like multitude of characters to the point of a lot of them will never show up ever again? I mean, even if Marvel decides to bring in X-Men characters, will they even bring in, see any character from Wolverine's past done well ever again? I don't know. We're very lucky to have other Deadpool-based media for that character to ever be a thing in people's mind ever again. Like I said, I have like a whole other idea of what I would have personally made into this film, and it would have lined up more like Logan, or even more like the Wolverine movie, which we'll talk about another time. But this film is the worst X-Men film. It's fucking barely watchable. It sounds bad, it looks bad, and it is bad. It's fucking terrible. This movie gets close to a rare. Very, very close to a rare, but I'll give it a medium rare, because again, it has some good cinematography here and there. It has moments that I'm like, you know what, that was kind of cool. Movie having parts that are cool is not a good enough reason to call it a good movie or even a watchable kind of fun movie, you know? I could point out good parts of 3, absolutely, but this, it has close to good parts. It doesn't have good parts in it. It is a bad fucking movie, and it, God's sakes, needed to be erased from the timeline. Because of this, they decided to go a whole new direction with the next one, and just a whole new idea. Again, calling it something else different, calling it X-Men First Class. This will begin a whole new era in X-Men, kind of deciding to push it more towards that group that they'll introduce in First Class, and less of the group that won't be doing it as much. And it'll slowly be taken over by outside influences that'll try to push it into a different kind of movie that will change the direction that the first 3 movies were kind of striving to go into before said 3rd movie, and this movie decided to just completely ignore and fuck up entirely. So, good, I guess. But I'll see you then in First Class. Until then, I've been the Movie-a-thoner. If you enjoyed this review, then go ahead and subscribe. I make a whole bunch of different kinds of ones, and again, I'll be doing First Class. Do you think X-Men Origins Wolverine has good parts to it, and I'm just kind of bullshitting? Maybe you're a big fan of Gambit, and you really liked his 5 minutes in this film. Then go ahead and leave that stuff in the comments. I'd love to talk to people about that, preferably nicely. More importantly, stay good, stay safe, and don't be an asshole.